Hey there, and welcome to That's Audacious, where we share entrepreneurial stories from amazing leaders to inspire and motivate you to be bold, brave, and audacious. I'm your host, Lauren Clement, the brand navigator, here to share stories that will make you say, well, that's audacious. Hello and welcome to another episode of the That's Audacious podcast. We have the fabulous Dr. Hassan Younes with us today. Now, you are not only a keynote speaker, and this is going to be a long introduction, goodness me, what you've done, Hassan, just amazing. A keynote speaker and author and a very successful entrepreneur. Dr. Hassan has a background in aerospace engineering, organizational change and business management across multiple industries, and over 2 decades in the educational and training sector. So I'm going to learn a lot more about your journey to where you were to where you've got to today, Dr. Hassan. I'm really looking forward to that, and how you've built multiple organizations and training organizations both in Australia and overseas. But also you are the founder of the Authors Book Launch and Book Expo and the Able Book Awards and the Able Nexus Fair stage as well. So you've created an incredible platform for authors and thought leaders to really raise their profile, which I'm so impressed with. And I had the very, very fabulous opportunity to be an Able Book Awards judge this year to an experience behind the scenes as well, and just love the way that you run that. So Dr. Hassan, tell us a little bit more about what got you from where you were, aerospace engineering and training and so on. Why did you then go, oh, know what, I'll start a book awards? What was it that led you to do
that? Thank you, Lauren, for the beautiful introduction. And I must say, it's really a pleasure being here on this podcast. And I want to commend you on doing the podcast for everyone, I guess, to make a difference to everyone. So I commend you on that. So thank you. Oh, so where I've come from, yes, as you mentioned, I am an aerospace engineer. I graduated from here in Melbourne at RMIT University, and then started working with the Department of Defense here in Melbourne. Then I worked for a little bit for the Australian Air Force, and then I moved into the private sector. So I worked in the industry for about 10 years until we sort of like I got married. Sort of at that time, we had a young family, our first son. And, on single income, it was a bit tough, So, and my wife wanted to go back to her career. And we kind of looked for a childcare center to put our son in and for Sarifa to, get back into her career. And we couldn't find a decent childcare center at that time. There was a high demand for childcare, and we couldn't find one that was really suitable for us, for our son. And then I told my wife, look, since we can't find a childcare center for our son, why don't we build one? So talking about Audacious, right? I'm an aerospace engineer. My wife had the master's in education, so she was more education, counselor and teacher and all of that stuff. So we had no experience in childcare. I thought, look, why don't we build a childcare center? And then that means we've got a place for our son that we know is of good quality. You manage it, you run it, and you're next to our son. So we did that. So we established our first childcare center. We bought the land, established it, and set it up and all the thing, and we got it running. And we still have it until now. We still have our team there, and they run the center, and we sort of manage it by distance, so to speak. So we established our center, and then about 4 years later, 4 or 5 years later, because I used to do behind the scene work, and so if I would do the general day-to-day managing of the team, the parents, the entire sort of business. 5 years later, I started enjoying doing the business stuff, behind the scene. And I thought, what, this is more enjoyable. I get the freedom. I can be around my family and all of that stuff. So I thought, so if I look, I would like to. What do you think if I just resign from my career and I go full time into business? And I minded I had a really good position with Boeing at that time. The pay was really, really handsome, like really comfortable pay. So it was a bit of a sacrifice, and also I love my industry, the aerospace, planes, and engineering, and all of that came with it. I love that career, I worked hard for it. But somehow my passion for business grew bigger and bigger as the years went by. And she told me, look, why don't you think about it? And I look, you know what? I'll apply for unpaid leave for a few months and I'll work in the business full time and I'll see, like give it a few times. So I did that. I took a few months unpaid, worked full time in the business, having the chance to take the kids to school, pick them up from school, really like being with my family was really such a blessing, like who wouldn't love to see, the kids grow up and stuff. So I loved it. And then after the unpaid leave, 2 weeks before it finished, I thought, oh, you know what? I think I'm enjoying this and I'm going to resign. And then she said, okay, look, that's your decision. Do it. We can work, hand in hand. And so I resigned, I retired, resigned from my engineering. I went full time into the business. And then from there, we kind of multiplied our businesses. Yeah. And that's also another story. So we grew our businesses to multiple folds into different directions. So we really diversified. Our next line of business was travel agencies, totally different to education. And that came about when because my wife is from the Philippines, so I've never been to the Philippines at that time. So I never met my in-laws, right? So we said, okay, we need to go to the Philippines with the in-laws, etc., etc. We have our son and things like that. So we went to look for a travel agency in our area, in our suburb here in Melbourne, and we couldn't find one. So we had to travel half an hour away from our suburb to another suburb to buy our travel tickets and things like that. At the time, the internet wasn't really that, sort of versatile. So we bought our tickets, went to the Philippines. On the way back on a Sunday, we were in a hotel, and then I thought, you know what? It took us half an hour to get our flight tickets from our agency. Why don't we build a travel agency in our area, So I said, okay. So we came back that same week. We rented a place, leased it. We went, at that time, you had to get qualifications to be a travel agent. You had to put guarantees, you had to put funds and capital and be licensed by the government here in Victoria and all that. So we leased the place. We went, did the qualifications quickly, intensive course. We put the money guarantee, we put deposits and all of that stuff. And we got licensed within maybe 4 weeks. So we really intensified everything. And we opened our travel agency 1, and then we expanded it to 3. And that's how really my passion for a business, I guess, started to grow. Then we opened a training organization as well here in Melbourne, an RTO.
Like, tell me, you were looking for a training organization and you couldn't find one close enough. So you
yes.
We hear this story so often, don't we? In Australia, we hear this. I went to do this and I couldn't find one, so I thought I'd make it. And it's such a fabulous grassroots approach to entrepreneurship, isn't it? It's finding a gap in the market and filling it, but taking that leap of faith to leave a business. I love the fact that you took a leave of absence first to sort of dip your toe in the water, because, I mean, worst case scenario, you could have left your job and then discovered that you hated working with your wife, and it was a very annoying situation to be in, and then you have to go back to it. So, but I love the fact that you saw an opportunity and went, hey, if it's a problem for me, it's a problem for other people. So if we can sort that problem for ourselves, we're sorting it for other people and making a success of it. So you opened up training organizations and so on, and you've got now all your businesses running. When did you get to a point where you went, do you know what? I really like the idea of running an awards. What brought that about? That you sort of, was it a suggestion or something you'd seen? What was it that caused that?
Actually, it was if you look at all our businesses that we have, they all came about on the back of a need, or a need in the market, really. In 2019, I published my book, Why Complacency Kills, and Sarifa had published her book like a few months or 6 months before that. And from the middle of the year, from 2019 to about December or January, sort of like 2020, the book was really just in a box on the shelf, really not doing anything. And then one morning I told Sarifa, look, we both published our books. They're great books. They're, a lot of stuff in it, and we haven't launched it. We haven't really gone and did a launch party or launch event or whatever. And I thought, look, why don't we create a professional platform for authors to launch their books on stage? We get them the videos, we get them the media, we get them the photography, all of that stuff. And we'll do that. It'll be a platform for everyone who hasn't launched their book like we did. And that's how it came about, really.
Wow. So again, you saw a need, you saw a gap, and you went, no one's doing this. There's no one here who's providing that for authors. Why don't we do it for ourselves?
Yeah.
And so it's a common story, isn't it? Lots of authors put so much effort into creating their book, and then it just stops. They might do maybe some social media posts, or maybe they do their own little launch event with the people they know, but they don't really realize that there's another step after you've published, isn't it? It's almost like having a baby, that you just go, okay, off into the world you go.
Yeah.
And
it's a sad element, isn't it? Because every book has so much gems in it, like so much knowledge and so much experience and so much learning, but it just it doesn't go anywhere because of the fact that I guess as authors we fail to launch it properly to the world. So yeah.
Do you think that's just a lack of understanding around the process? Or is it more a lack of understanding in terms of marketing and promotion, that authors want to share their stories, but they're not naturally a marketing guru or a promotion guru, and they just don't understand it?
I think it's a mixture of everything that you just mentioned. They don't have the know-how to launch. I mean, they probably launch it to their friends and families, in a local hall or something, but they probably don't have the know-how how to launch it professionally, I guess, in terms of getting out there, media, the advertising, the content, the IP that comes with all of the elements of launching a book. It's not just about of celebrating and having some drinks. Really, it's more about the message, the content going out there. So that's one element, and not having the know-how. And the other element that comes with it is, it's like they achieve the finish line and they say, okay, I'll stop now. Yeah, okay, I published it. Yes, I'll stop now. I've done my bit. It's just finishing a race, and you stop. You don't look for the second race or the second lap, or so to speak. So I think it's a mixture of both things that come together that really has that effect of authors not launching their books probably.
Yeah. Do you think also people seem to think you need a really large audience, like you need to have 1 million followers on TikTok, or you need to have, a couple of thousand people on a digital platform in order to be able to launch it? Or is that not necessary these days?
You mean as a limiting belief for the authors, that they say,
well, I don't know whether you're seeing it as something that, because I'm imagining with the Able Book Expo that you're tapping into not just your community of like your family and your friends and so on. You're now tapping into a much wider audience, aren't you?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. That plays a big part, because to have a large scale launch, you need a following, you need a network, you need some people, I guess, in your network to have that launch, to have the people in the room. And as you mentioned, not many people have that. They probably just have the local friends and relatives, and that's where it's also lacking. And I guess that's where the gap is, and we try to fill.
Yeah. You are listening to the That's Audacious podcast. If you like what you're hearing and you want to hear more stories like this, please subscribe to our channel. You'll find us all over wherever you find your normal podcasts and YouTube, etc. And there'll be lots of links below this interview as well. Now, tell me more, Dr. Hassan, about what's actually involved in the Able Book Expo, so that if authors are listening to this, they go, hey, that sounds like a good idea. I'd like to collaborate, because then I will reach a much wider audience. It sounds like a professional launch, but what's actually involved? What do they have to do as authors?
Well, anyone who has published a book, basically with an ISBN, a properly published book, whether self-published, traditional, hybrid, whatever it is, as long as it's published, they can register with us to publish their book through the registration process. And basically, once they register, we do the rest. really. We do we obviously will need the assets from the author. We need images of their books, and we need the profile photos, like professional photos of the author, and the blurb, the bio sort of thing. And we do the rest, meaning that we do the marketing, we do the promotions on social media, we do everything behind the scene to build up to that launch. So the author really doesn't have to do anything. They don't have to worry about any other elements that's happening behind the scene. We organize the event, we get the people, we get the speakers, we get the guest speakers, we have the entertainment, we have all the spotlights and the stage and the videography and everything. So we organize everything behind the scene for the author to give them as much exposure, as much promotional exposure, if you like, for the launch, before, during, and after. And what I love about our framework, our platform, our process is that once they launch on stage, we will continuously promoting their videos. We'll be continuously promoting their books on our platform. So it's like an ongoing thing, because they become part of the Able family. So really, they don't have to do anything except send to us those materials, the image of the book, their professional photos, and the book blurb and the bio. That's it. We do the rest, and all the authors have to do is really enjoy the ride and just soak in the spotlight and the exposure that they get.
Brilliant. And it is a fabulous platform. It's not just an online platform, it's a physical platform. At the expo, they get to speak, they get videoed talking about their book, they get to sell their books. But then also you've added to that the fact that you've got the Able Book Awards running at the same time, and the gala dinners that evening. So if you're a new author, you've also got the opportunity to rub shoulders with award-winning authors as well as putting your own book into those awards and so on. So tell us more about how that works in terms of the Able Book Awards as well.
Okay. So yes, we when we launched the Able Expo, the Authors Book Launch, we wanted obviously to give them that platform to launch, but we also wanted to recognize every book that's sort of worth of recognition, because, as I mentioned, every book is worthy of the content that's inside. So we came up with the book awards, the Able Book Awards. So the book awards is open to anyone, to any author, Australia-wide or global, because we're having authors from Australia, all over Australia. We have authors from Vanuatu, from the UK, from the US, you name it, from the Philippines. We have authors coming from all around the world nominating their books on our platform. So as a launching author, the one I was mentioning before, as a launching author, when you want to launch, or when someone launches the book with us, they automatically go into these awards. So there's nothing they need to do, because we will put their books into nomination automatically, and all they have to do is select which category, because there's about, I think, 21 categories to choose from. So they go automatically into the nomination, right? And obviously there's a cutoff date. This year it was 31st of July, I think it was. That was the cutoff date for this year. If they launch the book, or if they're registered to launch the book after 31st of July, it goes into next year's book awards. However, for those authors who are not launching, but they want to nominate their book, all they have to do is just go on the website, register, send in their details of the book, etc., and they'll have to select obviously which category they want their book to be nominated in for an award. So it goes into the pool of all the nominations, and it goes through a judging process, a very detailed judging process. And Lauren, you're very familiar with that process now. There's two segments of the process, but we'll leave that for later, maybe, or if you want me to detail that.
No, I love it. I was very impressed with the process for not only receiving the books to read and touch and feel and look at and so on, but also the fact that the judges are part of a panel. And so there's also another conversation that goes on between the judges, and there's sort of an overarching theme of collaboration with those judges, where you're doing a further discussion around the book. So it's not just an individual deciding they like a book cover or deciding they like the angle of the book or the story. It really is a collaborative approach with the judges, which is brilliant.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you get to interview the authors as well is just the icing on top, that you get the story behind the book and their purpose and their passion. And it's a very, I myself have entered a number of book awards for my own books, and of course we help lots of people with awards, but to be able to see it from both sides of the fence this year as an entrant as well as a judge was just phenomenal. So I got to judge and then jump off the call and go and be judged by someone else. And it was just really interesting to see the level of integrity that you have and the fact that the judges are so passionate about giving great advice to the entrants as well, so that they can say to them, hey, we loved your book, ask them lots of questions, so they interview them. And then a couple of times we were able to say, hey, had you thought about this? Because this might help in the future if you want to do it as a series, or if you thought about it as an audio book. Or so it's really encouraging. It's a great community for authors to grow their profile as an author as well. And what I like about the Able Book Awards is that you've got so many varied categories, from fiction to non-fiction to children's to illustrated. There's just autobiography, you name it, they're all in there. But also there's no restriction on when the book was published. So you might have published the book 3 years ago and it's sitting in a box in the garage and you're sitting there going, what am I going to do with my book? Well, here's an opportunity. The Able Book Awards and the Expo is a great platform for any author to be able to go, you know what, I think I want to get out there now and shine a light on my work.
Yeah, you're absolutely correct. And we wanted to give, in terms of the book awards, we wanted to be, how can I say, inclusive in terms of all angles, what you mentioned. Seeing it, feeling it, reading it, interviewing the author, understanding the story behind the book and why it's there and why it was made and where they're going with it and all of. So we wanted to be really an all-inclusive kind of like judging. I'm not sure if the word judging is probably even the right word, but just to give that overview of the book itself, give the full right for every book, Yeah.
Absolutely. No, it's very thorough, and I really loved your whole process around it. Now, we unfortunately have come to the end of our conversation. It's been so great to get such insight, and I hope if you are an author and you're listening to this and you've got books sitting in boxes in your garage and you're thinking, I really should do something about getting them out there. If you've got an amazing message, an incredible story, or you just really want to share it with the world, have a look at the Able Book Awards and Able Book Expo, because it's an amazing platform for you. Now, Dr. Hassan, I always ask people the same question on this interview. If you could go back in time to maybe when you were first starting out and you decided, oh, look, there's no early childhood centres here locally, I think we should do something right the way back. What advice would you give yourself about life, or about being an entrepreneur, or anything? What would you say to yourself way back then?
Way before we started the educational business? Wow. I guess I probably would have started everything sooner. Everything that I've got so far, I've started sooner. Like, don't wait, just start that, I probably would have started much sooner with so many things. But look, everything happens at the right time, for the right reason, I guess. So I'm not complaining. I can't complain. But I probably would have started earlier. Like with all the different projects, start earlier and make decisions. Look, along the way, we've had some fails with some businesses. We've had some losses, but you move on, you learn, and then you make sure you don't repeat that, and then you move on and you create something new. And I probably would not have done some of the business mistakes that I've done. Avoid them completely, But I think I would have started much earlier with all the business initiatives.
Yeah, brilliant. It is interesting, isn't it? That fear of failure does hold us back so much of the time. And a lot of people, they think that success is this linear, straight up, and it's not. It's up and down. And, you have to learn, and it's hard to make those mistakes, and it hurts, and it's not very fun. but that's how you learn and how you grow. So you learn very quickly, don't you? As we age, life is very short. So you might as well go out there and put yourself and your heart and soul into something that you're really passionate about and learn as you grow. So fabulous. I love it. What a fabulous story. Thank you so much, Dr. Hassan. It's been fabulous chatting with you. Thank you for everything that you do to support authors. I'm looking forward to being at the event in Melbourne in October. And if you are listening to this, whatever time of year it is, please check out the ABLE Book Awards and Expo. The link will be below this interview somewhere for you. And get into it, guys, because your book deserves to be well-known, well-paid and wanted.
Absolutely. And this platform is for all authors. Take advantage of it, really. You take a yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you, Lauren, for that. Thank you.
Thanks so much for listening to the That's Audacious podcast. Remember, there's no place for modesty in business, and you do deserve to be well-known, well-paid, and wanted. For more episodes, please subscribe to the podcast on your favourite channel or follow us online. The links are in the description below.